Tiny Games here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to discuss some of the things that I predict or expect might come to the game with the latest update with Mulan. These are just my theories and predictions, so it's not a guarantee. Before anyone thinks like I don't have any proof or anything like that, these are just some of my like theories and discussions and suggestions or ideas kind of thing. It's just more to kind of talk about it and everything like that. We did in Discord last night, we watched Mulan together. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed that. And being able to re-watch Mulan, I was able to kind of refresh myself on some of the scenes, some of the decor and things like that. So I really just wanted to kind of go through a few different things. Firstly, the home, secondly, the decor, and then lastly, the kind of clothing and stuff like that that might be available. So why don't we talk about the home first? When it comes to Mulan's home, it does appear that she lives in quite a large, I want to say compound kind of thing. I don't know if that's the right word. Like, she lives on a large plot, let's just say. I'll bring up on screen a picture from the second movie, first of all, which just kind of shows you the scope. So it really looks like there's almost like two side buildings, a central building. Looks like there's a stable, and then we also have the kind of like temple area as well. So I don't imagine we're going to get something as large as this. Now, when we look during the first film, we do get a few screenshots and up close imagery of her home. And I likely think we're going to get the almost like the main central building as her house, or something that looks very, very similar to this. So I don't think it's going to be a large building. I think it's going to be much smaller, especially with how a lot of people complain about the size of Casita. I don't think that's unknown to Gameloft. So I very much think they're not likely to do super large builds like that. Even though I personally love the size of Casita, and I think it makes sense if we get future Encanto characters down the road, and then they could be added into the same building, perhaps. I think there's a lot of functionality they could do there. That's my own thoughts, though. But yeah, I do have a feeling we'll just get like sort of the square center building for her home. I'm really looking forward to getting a new style of building within the game and a new aesthetic, obviously, because the Chinese culture is very different to a lot of the other cultures in game. So I'm really looking forward to that variety. So that's my thoughts with her house. I don't think we're going to get a massive build for her. I think it's going to be fairly small, and certainly will look aesthetically very similar to what we see in the film. That's my theory and prediction. I do think within the film we do see sort of like the temple where I'm going to call it a temple. I don't know if that's the correct word. But there is like a building where they go to worship their ancestors or pray to their ancestors. And I think it's likely we could get a building like that too. But I have a feeling it's going to be more like a decor item rather than as part of a house or a house skin and things like that. Which, talking about decor, maybe we should talk about some of the things. Firstly, what I'll get into is something that they have already hinted at with their Star Path announcement. In their little Star Path tweet, they did mention, or they showcased, two kites. Now, kites do feature quite a bit at the end of the film. We get a close-up on the kites a few times. Mushu actually rides a kite and uses a kite to create like this bat appearance, which he uses to scare off a couple of guards kind of thing. So I could definitely see this style of kite in game. I think it's likely to be a decorative item. I would very much like it to have a bit of movement, like maybe it's a stand kind of thing, like we have the ribbons or the kite strings kind of coming up from the ground or something, and then the kites on the top, and perhaps they sway a bit so it looks like they're blowing in the wind. That's kind of what I'm expecting and hoping for with the kites. It would be kind of nice if they did look like the ones in the movie, just because of that tie-in, but I don't think that's mandatory. They could very much be inspired by some of the colors commonly seen with Chinese festivals and things like that, and go a more traditional route than just like sticking with the movie elements. Um, Tying into kites and things like that, I think we probably need to discuss the lanterns and everything like that. Obviously, the lanterns and the flags are quite prominent during the end of the film. So I do fully expect that we're going to get some sort of lantern lighting, whether it will be for inside the home or maybe some possible outdoor lighting as well. I think it would be nice to have the mix of both. I do prefer it when like updates come and they bring interior and exterior decor, even though typically I tend to do outdoor builds because that's where I tend to spend most of my time in the valley. I do think it's important to have that kind of good mix between them. Um, and I think the kind of like the flags and the banners and stuff like that would be nice to have as well as decor. I like to think that perhaps we can create fully fleshed areas when they bring in new characters and things like that. I would like it if we can decorate in a way so that the house is surrounded by items kind of thing that fit within that theme. There's nothing worse than getting a house and not knowing how to decorate around the outside of it. Um so I'm looking forward to some of the decor pieces coming to the game. I think we could have some really pretty and aesthetic outdoor decor. So there is a scene or a few scenes within the film where Mulan sits on a bench with her dad under this beautiful like cherry blossom tree, and I think we could certainly see an item come in game that's like a cherry blossom tree with a bench attached. I think that would be really cute. Like I'm thinking of the like swing tree that you get in Eternity Isle. If we had something similar to that but with a bench rather than the swing, I think that would be kind of cute, maybe on a slightly smaller scale. Because the swing tree does take up quite a large footprint. It does indeed. Another thing we see a lot in the movie, obviously with Mulan's song Reflection, there's a lot of like sort of pool water imagery and things like that. So whilst I don't think we're going to be able to get the ability to have like customizable ponds, we could definitely see kind of like a pond or pool like item or structure kind of thing, like a water feature. We do tend to get quite a few of those. You know, we've got a lot of fountains, we've got some of the like waterfall type items, so I could definitely see them bringing something like that in. Another thing that might be cool is to have kind of like bridges. Now obviously I don't think we'll be able to get functioning bridges that go over water, but maybe some kind of like bridge like decor, just something that you can kind of walk over, maybe put it on the grass and stuff like that. I know that probably seems a bit pointless because you should have water running under a bridge, or something going underneath it, but I just think kind of adding items that maybe add a bit of elevation to the game just offers you different height perspectives and things like that, like especially if you're taking photos. I think having things that kind of almost create a different sense of height and structure within the valley would be such a good idea. And I think we could get some really pretty and aesthetic items if we did have some kind of like bridge decor item. I think that would be kind of fun. Now, another thing that I think might possibly come is the Great Stone Dragon statue. I would love to have like some sort of dragon statue decor. I do love the turning red statues, but ultimately because they have two separate facial expressions, and sort of pose the opposite directions, it's really hard to get that kind of like symmetry look and vibe, which is why I think a couple of like dragon statues, something like the Great Stone Dragon, would be such a good item to have in game, because then you could get almost like that symmetrical vibe. We could have those statues. I would also like something that maybe has the option of maybe a couple of different color variants. So we do have a lot of stone structures within the game, like we've got the arches and things like that with the Hercules collection, but with them being so light, it's hard to mix it with some of the other stone elements in the game, which tend to be a darker grey colour. So I hope we get something that can kind of bridge the gap, or something that offers the colour varieties and things like that. I really wish we had that option. Something that would maybe be fun to come to the game would be a bit like in Animal Crossing, where you can customize items, and like you go to like a workbench and you could change the color of an item, like reskin it, if that makes sense. I think that would be really, really fun and a great way to kind of merge certain items together. Because like I've contemplated using the like crumbling walls from the Eternity Isle pack with some of the Hercules collection, but it just doesn't work because they're two different types of stone, and being two completely different shades, they just don't blend well. So yeah, here's an idea, Game Loft. Perhaps add in a customization bench for us, and then we can just like reskin some of the colors. Perhaps maybe that would be fun. Just throwing that one out there for you all, free of charge. But yeah, I think some sort of dragon statue, some stone statues would be perfect to add in game as well. Now moving on from that, let's have a little discussion about the characters and the skins and stuff that they could come in. Now, I think we're all pretty much 100% decided or in agreement that Mulan is coming to the game. However, based on a tweet from Gameloft Japan, it does imply that there are characters coming. I can't remember if when Gameloft did eventually tweet this out themselves, whether they mentioned characters too. I'm gonna have to double check that. But there was an allusion to like multiple characters, so potentially we are getting two. And I think if we're getting another character, it is either gonna be between Shang or Mushu. That's the like two character options it's gonna be. A lot of people really want Mushu. I think Mushu would be fun to have, but obviously the romantic in me likes to have the pairings, the romantic pairings. So I would love to have like Li Shang come into the game. I think that would be super good. Now, talking about sort of character skins and how they might come in, I would love it if we do get Mushu. I mentioned this when we were watching the film the other night. If he walked around with his little gong thing, like walked around the village and every so often he just pulls it out and bangs on it, I think that would be such a cute like animation thing for him. Not only that, but obviously like he does try and breathe fire and stuff, so maybe like a little fire spitting pose might be kind of fun too. That's kind of what I'd like to see for Mushu. Now obviously he doesn't really have like outfits as such, so I think having those kind of like animation poses would be really fun. Obviously we know a lot of the characters in game have their animation poses, like Mirabelle dances with butterflies, Elsa and Anna have their paper messaging kind of poses and stuff. So I think it's not too much of a stretch to expect something like that from Mushu. Now coming to Li Shang, I would love a shirtless version of him. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I think that would be fun. Um, Realistically, do I think that's gonna happen? No. I think if he comes to the game, he's gonna be in his like soldier uniform. I don't expect him turning up in any other form. But you know, one can hope and one can dream. And that is what I will cling to. That is what gives me hope. um but yeah, I think if he comes, he's gonna have one look and that's it. um Now, coming to Mulan, Mulan has a lot of outfits within the movie, so many different looks and things like that. I think it's going to be hard to predict how she might come. Now, I kind of have a feeling she might come in her blue ensemble, just because that is how she looks at the end of the movie. And I do feel like the creators tend to lean more into how a character looks towards the end. Obviously, not always. Rapunzel's got a long hair and stuff like that, and I guess Belle technically came in her blue dress and whatnot. But I feel like they're gonna take note of her storyline and where she is at the end of the film rather than where she was at the beginning. However, that being said, I believe, based on my very limited knowledge and from a little bit of research, obviously I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong. From what I've seen looking at Mulan tied to the parks, she typically tends to be in her pink gown, the one she wears when she goes to see the matchmaker. Um, so I think there's a very high chance she could come in her pink gown, which would tie her into the park's look and aesthetic. Um, so I think there is a high chance for that, but realistically, I am leaning more towards her blue gown. I think that's potentially how she's gonna come. But she has a lot of outfits that she could have. Obviously, the blue one, we have the pink gown. We also have her soldier uniform, and then the more casual kind of training uniform that she could also be wearing. There's obviously her casual at home clothing, like obviously when she first wakes up in the morning, she's in like, I guess you could say some sort of pajamas. And then when she's traveling through the village and she helps out with, I don't think it's a chess game, but I'm just going to say chess game because I don't know what game it was, but she helps out with that game and moves the pieces, and she's wearing like this beautiful blue top and lovely skirt. Like, Mulan has so many amazing outfits. She's honestly iconic. um and I think we could have a lot of variety with clothing with her, but ultimately I'm kind of expecting potentially the blue outfit. But you'll have to let me know in the comments, what do you think? So these are some of my predictions for her home, some of the decor items that may come and things like that. Obviously, I am hoping with more stuff with the update and everything like that. I would like to see the Scrooge store come with more clothing. I would love to see furniture items we can buy in there, not just items that come from Mulan herself with her quest lines, friendship levels and things like that. So I do hope we get a bit of a variety, and I know there is a bit of a heavy focus in the premium shop, so I could certainly see quite a few items coming into the premium store as well. But yeah, these are my thoughts. Have you got any ideas of what may also come? I am going to be keeping an eye out on socials because they are dropping a lot of hints at the moment and tweets and stuff. I'm not sure if we'll get anything today because it is a Sunday. But I'm hoping for a bit more information on the Monday, perhaps a character reveal, like a character model reveal and stuff like that. I'm not sure whether we'll get the key art and trailer, because I think even with the last update, we didn't get that till like on the day of the update or something. So they were a bit behind with that. But I am kind of thinking and predicting that perhaps we might get some sort of character reveal or something like that. Maybe like a mini trailer kind of thing, just like a static clip maybe showing something. That wouldn't make sense, a static clip. That's kind of like, that doesn't make sense. But you guys probably know what I mean. Like with the Daisy update, we had the image with her posing with two of the characters. It wasn't the key art, but it was like a character reveal artwork. That's what I'm kind of getting at. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get something like that perhaps on Monday. I do think we've still got a very strong chance of the update coming next week. Just with how heavy they have been on the hints. And it's not like they haven't done this before where they dropped a bunch of hints and the update dropped pretty soon. So that's not unusual for Gameloft. So yeah, but I'm excited to have this like little discussion with you guys. If you've got any thoughts or theories or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the comments below, or you can join the Discord and we can chat about it in there and everything. But I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys!